The brief for the Sapphires, Queensland Theatre Company and Canberra Theatre Centre co-production. My name is Isaac Drandich. I'm the head of First Nations Theatre here at Queensland Theatre Company. Thank you. Thank you very much. Backstage applause. I'd like to start by acknowledging the country that we're on, the country where Queensland Theatre Company is based. I want to acknowledge the Yagara and Turrbal people. In particular, pay respects to this country and to the elders past and present, and of course all the elders that are here tonight with us. I also want to acknowledge our production partners on this. Ergon Energy and Energex Queensland, who have supported First Nations Theatre at Queensland Theatre Company for quite some time now. Every single show that I've directed at this company over the last 6 or 7 years. And I also want to acknowledge our community night partner, the Brisbane Airport. Without this type of support, obviously, it's a hugely collaborative venture that we dive into when making theatre, and every little bit helps. I want to just give you a quick overview of the work. I'm pretty sure most of you know this work, and this might be totally pointless. I'm sure you've heard of the Sapphires before. And I've totally just ripped this off our website. So in case you haven't read it, 4 sisters from country Victoria dream of a stage far beyond their small town roots. When their girl group Harmonies catch the attention of a big city talent scout, their lives are changed forever. Based on the incredible true story of writer Tony Briggs's mother, the Sapphires follows 4 Yorta women who blaze a trail from regional Victoria to the front lines of Vietnam, entertaining American soldiers, breaking barriers, and discovering love along the way. Featuring 60 soul music classics performed live, including Respect, Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I would sing these, but I don't have the range. The Shoop Shoop song, It's in His Kiss. I'm sure you all know that one. This joyous production transforms the intimate Bille Brown Theatre into an electrifying concert-style celebration, up close, personal, and impossible to resist. For more than 20 years, the multi-award-winning play and the hit film it inspired have captivated audiences around the world. At its heart, The Sapphires is a proud story of First Nations women whose talent, humour and resilience lit up a remarkable moment in Australian history, a story that for many years remained largely untold. Now this beloved musical returns in a sparkling new production with the next generation of First Nations performers stepping into the legacy of the women who inspired the story, led by original director and theatre legend Wesley Enoch. He told me to say that. There he is. Big-hearted, infectious and full of soul, this celebration of sisterhood culture and unforgettable music builds to a roof-raising finale and promises the feel-good musical night out you'll love from the very first note. Without more talking from me, I want to now ask the cast and the crew to join me on stage. Put your hands together for the Sapphires. Thanks. Wow. Welcome everyone. There's obviously friends and people that we know here in the audience tonight. I think we should start with introducing yourselves, I think. Would we start from this end, please? So who you are and what your role is, thanks.
Hi, my name's Yanni. I am the stage manager of this production.
I'm Wesley Enoch. I'm the director of the show.
My name is Teg Twist.
I will be playing Gail McRae.
My name is Aurora Little Christie, and I'll be playing Kay McRae.
My name is Taya Makani, and I will be playing Julie McRae.
Hello, my name is Ruby Henaway, and I'll be playing Cynthia McRae.
Hey, my name is Garrett, and I am playing Jimmy.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris Nguyen and I'm playing Joe.
Hi, my name is Jack Bannister. I'm playing Dave Lovelace.
Hello, my name is Cameron, and I'll be playing Robbie.
Hi, I'm Shanoa Demal, and I'm the assistant director.
Hi everybody, my name's Nathaniel Andrew. I'm the musical director. I'm going to introduce the band because we don't like to speak in public. This is we got Eli Badger on bass guitar, James Fegai on keys, Dimple Barney Jr. on drums.
Hello, I'm Richard Roberts and I'm the set and costume designer.
Hi, my name's Ben Hughes. I'm the lighting designer.
Hello, Craig, video designer.
Isaac Ogilvie, sound designer.
I can't see down the other end, so I'll take that applause as confirmation that we've finished introducing ourselves. I'd also just like to mention that Yolandi Brown is the choreographer on this work as well, who's not able to join us tonight. We will open up to questions a little bit later in the last 20 minutes of this session. But for now, let's dive into it. The first question's for you, Wesley. And I know that you've had a long association with this work. You directed the original production of it back in 2004, a Belvoir and Melbourne Theatre Company co-production. And the question I've got for you is, after 20 so years, directing the original production, what's changed? As artists, we're always speaking to a modern audience, and when shaping the work, we often think about sort of the social and political climate. Are you talking to a different audience now with this work? It's been 20 years on.
I mean, if we just go back just to what 2004 really meant. If you remember, many of you may not have been born then, but the idea of when John Howard refused to do an apology in 2000 and thereabouts, by the time you're getting to 2004, there's already open hostility to things like ATSIC, and there was a defunding of about $1 billion to Indigenous affairs. There was the intervention in the Northern Territory. And this play hit at a time which was about unbridled optimism, a sense of the future, by going back to the time that was just after the 67 referendum, when there was a real sense of going, we can go anywhere. If you think that this play, we kind of say, is set in 68, 69, somewhere there, this is the first time that Aboriginal women could travel on an Australian passport out of the country. It's hard to remember these kind of things because obviously you weren't around then. But this whole idea, I know I'll do the same joke over and over again, but this whole idea of going, the optimism that these women in real time felt about how they could actually explore the world was really amazing. And then you come to this period of time when the John Howard era was actually feeling like it was its own cage, that Aboriginal people felt like we were shrinking, that we had the stolen generations and a whole lot of other kind of stories being told, that they were the dominant narrative. Out of that came this amazing story about women, these four women who could see the world and see opportunity in the world. And that was something that really captured people's imaginations at the time. And I should say too that we did it it took us like 2 or 3 years of development working with Tony Briggs, who's the writer, and because it's a real story of his mother and his aunts who went to Vietnam to entertain the troops. And, you know, actually they went a number of times, but we, in the play, talk about once going over, just because, you know, that's theatrical license. And the idea of this kind of ability to go out there and make a difference. I should just say as a side note, these women then came back from performing in Vietnam and went, actually being performers wasn't the role that they could play. They went on and set up the Aboriginal Medical Service. They set up a whole range of community services in the 70s. And I just want to talk about Arnie Nay at this point, who just passed away in Easter. One of the original Sapphires who's just passed away. And the sense of her legacy in our community to really give us, the legal service, the medical service, these community-controlled organisations that we take for granted now. These women gave up their performing careers to set up those things. So in 2004 and 5, we didn't know it was even going to be the kind of success that it was. And Belvoir Street wasn't on at the very beginning. It was only Melbourne Theatre Company, and they took a real risk. And in fact, I remember the literary manager at the time said to me, saying, Wesley, I really don't think this play is it's not really gonna hit the mark. And if it wasn't for Simon Phillips, who was the artistic director at the time, who said, no, there's something in this, and we developed it. And I remember the first preview when the audience got up on their feet and felt jubilant at the idea of Aboriginal women celebrating themselves, that we went, okay, there's something here. And Belvoir Street came in and said, we'll take the show after only 1 week of previews in Melbourne. And then it went on from there, and people will know about the film. Why today, though, I think is the question. This is a long way of answering the same question. I think all of us in the room will know the kind of hurt that was felt from the loss of the referendum most recently. And the real sense of disappointment that many people felt in our community. Even now, when I talk to different kind of Aboriginal leaders, they say it's a real kind of heartache that's hard to shift. It's a real kind of downward spiral, thinking that, in fact, we're going to be attacked now for the next decade if one nation has their way, if the right wing of politics kind of finds us as a target again, that we will find ourselves in a really tough period of time. In Queensland, we know about the truth-telling and the treaty kind of step-backs that have occurred recently. And I don't want to get political about it, but it hits Aboriginal people quite hard, these kind of moments, because you feel like you're getting some headway and then it kind of slides back, and we think, we all have a very strong kind of, in our DNA, a memory of the hard times, and you feel like we might be on the dawn of that again. So for Queensland Theatre Company to decide to do this play is a sense of optimism, a sense of going forward, a sense of actually what are the opportunities to go forward, and as Aboriginal people, for us to kind of stand up and sing is such an important kind of storytelling. And for non-Indigenous Australians to go, actually, we need to sing together. We need to sing together. We need to dance together, because that's what our future really... We all grow by that future. And so I think this story now, we're talking to a different audience who may not have the kind of optimism of the 1967, 68 kind of period, that maybe share the moment of darkness and fear that was in their early 20s. And again, a play can lead us into another way of seeing the world and a real sense of optimism.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for those insights. And you sort of touched on it. You touched on it that this is a true story, or based on true events at least. And working as a director myself sometimes. Are you a director? Yeah, sometimes. There's always look, I'll ask this in a question. Is there added pressure around realising a production, a work, a story that means so much to a community and to the families of these women, and also the expectations that I suppose the broader Australia has with the Sapphires being part of the sort of national consciousness?
No. No, that's not true. I'm not that arrogant. But there's a part of me that goes, actually, every time you make a show, you got to make it fresh and make it new and things like that. Actually, I will tell you one story, and I'll ask Jack if I can tell this story about his audition tape about the accent. And when in casting now, there's a lot of kind of self-taping, audition tapes. People video themselves and kind of send it in as the initial thing. And Jack, amongst the number of other people who auditioned, all did Irish accents. And I kept going, why are we doing Irish accents? What's that? And you go, oh, it's the film. Because the film was played by an Irishman, there's this kind of expectation that character is now Irish. It was never Irish. It was never, but that's the way those expectations kind of roll as well. And it's interesting to think that people who come to see this play will have already an experience of the story perhaps, or know of it vaguely, or know that it was a success. And so the bar is already set that it's got to be like this. So you better do it well then. No, don't. But yeah, there is those expectations. But to be honest, we have to build relationships in the theatre like this. You can't just expect that people have people's expectations. In many ways, what's good is that if we do something they don't expect and take them on a different journey, or take you on a different journey to just the one that they expected to go on.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my cue to now go over to the Sapphires. And look, this is for all of yous. This question. What was it like? Because these roles are so well known that it's an iconic Australian work now. We're all familiar with the characters. We know them. Is there an added pressure for you?
Which one of you are Deborah Mailman?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Can you repeat that to me?
And do you feel a sense of pressure in regards to how it is you portray Julie, for example? And I suppose, do you consider how you make the character your own?
Yeah, I definitely personally felt a lot of pressure receiving this role. As you know, and my first impression of this stage play was the film when I was very young. And looking up to Jessica Malvoy as well, and then receiving the offer as Julie in this stage play, I was thinking to myself, oh, everyone's going to expect me to sing like her. But I feel like coming into the space and learning more about the history of what this story is really about, and for me is about paying homage to the original Sapphires and their experience and their story. I think that's very important, as well as feeling the shoes of the Sapphires that have come before us as well. I think that's important. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. Any of you guys want to touch on that?
I don't feel... Who played my role? Miranda Tapsell. I don't feel the pressure of Miranda Tapsell having played this, simply because I haven't seen the film in years. And my family asked me if I was going to watch it again, and I still haven't watched it since because I didn't want to. There's so much to think about in this play, and battling so much insecurity and self-belief that I just didn't need another layer of Miranda Tapsell playing on my brain like that. But so thankfully I don't feel the pressure of her. I just feel the pressure of doing this play a service and getting it to where it needs to be. The best thing I can do for myself and for the storytelling is bring what I know, and that's myself, and it's having a self-belief. Yeah.
I will echo Ruby and say that I chose not to rewatch the film coming into this because I didn't want to place that expectation on myself. I might have a watch of it just before opening night, just for fun, for funsies. Just for a little challenge. I know I've really enjoyed just finding the character in the room with this special bunch of people and allowing that character to come through the relationships with everyone as well.
Heck yes. I absolutely felt the pressure. I think Deborah Melman is quite iconic as an actor or actress within Australia anyway. I think when she gets a role, she does amazing work with it. On top of that, I know Rachel Mazza to be a phenomenal artist who was originally Gail in the stage show. So yes, absolutely, I felt the pressure of it. It would be a lie to say I don't. I even went shopping for my opening night dress to be stopped and asked, "Oh, you play Deborah Melman's role?" Sure, absolutely. But I think in saying that, again, echoing kind of this sentiment, as an actor, you're always eager to find something new about the role, especially with such an iconic play or / film. People expect a certain degree of showmanship. They expect that the Sapphires is the Sapphires. So there's that kind of added pressure. And when you're trying to find differences between the film and the play, the play for Gail's arc is she's pretty strong in a lot of the scenes. So I think tweaking and how to play the anger so that it wasn't always just angry was something that was actually a really big pressure. Again, I also haven't watched the film since we started or have been casted, but I probably will. I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker. But yeah, absolutely.
What was it like to get the phone call that you'd got the job?
I was sad.
It was sad?
I actually really wanted the role of Cynthia. And so I was kind of like, oh no, I'm getting Deborah Melman's role. So I think it added to the pressure of it. But on top of that, I think on the first day meeting Taya, she walked in the room and she was, it's every little black girl's dream to be a Sapphire. And I was kind of like, yeah, it is. Especially if you're a big theatre dork. Absolutely. So I'm super excited in that sense and sad that I didn't get Cynthia, but now that I've played it up, now that I've been here, played around, love the role of Gail.
What was it like to get the call? I don't know who called me, but Wesley called me because I initially said no to the role to auditioning because I have a small child and I haven't taken on a big job since he was born. He's 2.5. So I was like, I don't know if my life can accommodate this. He'll have to live without me for most of the days. And then Wesley called me and said, don't write yourself off. Give it a go. Because, your life will change to support this direction. And I did it, and I got it, and I was like, yes, Lord. Yeah. Yes, Uncle Wesley, Lord. Yeah, and it's just kind of sparked this, reopening of my life to keep pursuing things that I want to do. Yeah. So thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, man. When I got the call for this role, I think I was the last one to be casted out of the girls. And for me, it was quite a long audition process. I was gunning for the role. It has been my dream since I was very small to play a Sapphire or to be a Sapphire. And if it wasn't a Sapphire, I don't know, something close to a Sapphire. Yeah, literally. Yeah, I got the call. I was in Sydney with my brother, and I got a call from my agent, and I remember very vividly jumping up and down and being like, yes, I'm a Sapphire. And then, that's kind of how I felt about that. I couldn't imagine a better role to have played in my career so far.
I feel like I've always heard this saying that you always get the role when you least expect it, and that is truly what happened. I remember getting an email. I was over in Perth doing a show with Black Swan, and I got an email mid-rehearsal saying I was still being considered for the role, and I just kind of looked at it and was like, oh, okay, really? I was so perplexed. I was confused. And I tucked that away, and then I got another email with the offer that came through, and it took me weeks to accept it. Like, not accept the role, kind of mentally, emotionally accept that I am going to be doing this role, because I just absolutely did not expect it at all. And I think that kind of followed me right until rehearsals. So like a few weeks prior, I was like, I better start singing lessons, I guess, and just like slowly going through the motions of what I think I should be doing for this. And then, I don't know, I don't think I ever reached the point where I was like, oh my God, like I've been casted it. So it was a very confusing point of time. But thank you so much, Wesley, for casting me. Oh, okay, yeah. So I had to fly over from Perth to Brisbane for a marketing day. For all the promo videos, photos, etc. Nate decided to throw a music call at the end of the day. And my performing history and singing history, I don't have a strong singing background. The best I can do is tell the story. And so I was very nervous for this singing call. I was on 2 hours of sleep. People say you can't get jet lagged coming from Perth. I say you can. And I was a little bit jet lagged. I was tired. I was nervous, etc. And after singing, he got a sense of our range. And that day, my throat just closed up, and I was seriously I was a screeching cockatoo, if you will. And the next day, I was like, okay, fly back to Perth. I emailed Wes, and I said, can you please call me? And I didn't give any context whatsoever. It was just, please call me when you can. And he never did, thank goodness, I guess, one might say, because I was getting ready to tell him, I can't do this, I'm not going to do it. And I never got the chance to, and I had to show up on day one, and I started getting paid for it. So I couldn't pull out anyway, but here we are. But yeah, anyway.
And have you accepted it now?
No. No, I have.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to have you four on stage here at Queensland Theatre Company, making your Queensland Theatre Company debuts, along with some of the other cast members here as well. Richard Roberts, all the way down there. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hey, Richard, Richard's the designer of this work, set and costume designer. So you and Wesley did the original production of this work, correct?
Correct.
So you're revisiting this work as well from a design perspective.
Yeah.
My question for you is, did you learn anything from the previous production that you may have had the opportunity to implement in this one?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I should say is that, like the actors, Wesley does ring the designers, and rang, as Isaac's just said. This was actually the third time for me. So Wesley rang me in 2004, and then back in 2010, I think it was, and then last year. And I'd said yes straight away. Well, you know, because it's Wesley ringing, and he and I have a long, I think, happy relationship, Wesley. You know, that goes... Yeah. Look, every time you do it, and to be asked to get a chance to do something 3 times, this is actually the first time for me. I've done plays twice, but third time is extremely unusual. I think what you do is start again every time, like wipe clear the decks and get a new piece of paper, sharpen the pencil and start from a blank page. The weird thing is that there are some things that are kind of built into this. It's an amazingly resilient piece, actually, I think, and it's an incredibly kind of, it's played in big theatres like the Melbourne Theatre Company. When we first did it, we had a revolve and we had flying and we had automation and we had all sorts of stuff going on, and it went within a couple of weeks from that environment at the Melbourne Theatre Company in a big theatre with 900 people to Belvoir, which has no revolve, no flying, no automation, no nothing, and the piece just fitted, slotted in perfectly. It's the most beautifully crafted, resilient little marvellous show, I think. I think the thing that when you start again, like for a designer, and I'm pretty sure my colleagues sitting next to me would agree with me, I mean, our job is to support them, is to allow them to tell the story in a beautifully clear and powerful and vivid way to all of you. And our job is to provide the playing space to do that, and in my case the clothes to do it, and Ben's the lights and the sound and the projections. So ours is all in the service of them. So a new group of people, it's going to be a different play. It's going to be a completely different show. And I try very hard, particularly for me, costumes. I didn't do the costumes in the first and the second iterations of this, so costumes are new for me. And one of the things that I am very keen to do with the actors is to allow them to tell me things about their character that might shift in the fitting room upstairs as a result of those conversations, because they have to do it. I don't. They have to put the clothes on and stand out here and sing the songs and say the words. So in that sense, I don't think it's not necessarily bringing a memory of what we did last time. I won't do that again. It's kind of start again, I think. And some things have found their way back, of course.
Good things tend to do that, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks, Richard. I'll jump to Nathaniel. Nathaniel, the musical director. Now, you've had similar experience. You've worked on different iterations of this production too. What's it been like revisiting this work for you with a new cast and a new band? And how have you gone about the process?
It's interesting with music because the essence of the music in this play hasn't changed since it came out. Being soul music, it's something that you tap into naturally, and when it's right, you're not, and when it's wrong, you're not. And so it's part of the challenge is how do you steer a group of people together and yourself into this direction of what's pure, what's honest, what's real. And along this journey, like in the previous shows, it was sort of my introduction to this this world. I'm a full-time gigging musician, so music director stuff, there's a whole lot of responsibility that I'm not built for because I'm married and my wife takes care of all that stuff. But in this role, it's more, the learning I've felt is that, with each generation of artists that come through, actors, musicians, and all that sort of stuff, there's different considerations, there's different life experiences and views of the world, which inform how they do things, how they approach things, how they feel it, and how they represent it. And, along the way, it's like finding out what resonates and allowing us as artists to empty our jug, so to speak, and allow the music, the art to come through and come out. And that's a beautiful challenge to undertake. And we're working with the band and with the cast as well. It's something where there's different generations, there's different outlooks, there's different cultural perspectives. You know, even within Aboriginal culture, there's so many different ways we can look at things. And I'm very lucky that, you know, I've got the vocal coach as well, has come from was previously in one of the previous shows, and has a special connection to the show, but also has established a special connection with each of the casts as well. And so it's a group effort. But removing yourself, you're pretty much just the vehicle for the cast to get to this destination together. And you know, so part of that's recognizing that, but the other part of it is like, how can we utilize new technology to make the experience more immersive, make you feel like you're in those places, make you feel emotion through what we do. And so yeah, as things change, there's things that get easier, and then there's new challenges represented, because sometimes if we're using technology, how do we make that feel real? Because we live in a world where things are fake. So how do we keep that honesty and tap into that source? So yeah, a lot of different moving things, but it's challenging, but you know, it takes pressure to change coal into sapphires. And so I think part of that too is like, we're all on this journey together to really push and challenge ourselves. And if we understand that and we support each other in that process, which this is a very supportive group of people, it's easy, and we come out as better people at the end, and the audience gets something special. Thanks. Thank you.
Look, I'm aware of the time actually, and we will open it up to questions in just a moment. So start thinking about those ones. I'll just throw down the end, continuing down that way to you, Mr. Hughes, the lighting designer. I'm always interested in your process, but I'm always interested in how a lighting designer works with a director. And my question for you is through the conversations that you have with Wesley in the lead up to it, pre-production, during rehearsals, how do those conversations manifest visually on stage?
That's a hard question. No, I think it's probably a good place to start is to say that, you know, I've been lucky enough to work with Wesley on I don't know how many shows now.
50 main stage productions at QTC. Ben Hughes, wow, incredible.
Thank you. Not all with Wesley though. But no, I think after you've done a lot of work with a particular director, you start to get a shorthand. So you start to know what they mean when they say certain things to you. And certainly working with Wesley, I think, I choose my words carefully, but I think the focus is always on just telling the story. On a fundamental level, it's, you know, forget about flash, forget about, you know, anything, you know, fancy, and actually just get on with telling the story. And if you concentrate on that, then everything else falls in place. Certainly for this play, I think one of the harder things, and it's something we've been talking about, is it is a period piece, but also we're not in that kind of space. We're in a modern theatre. And how do we tell the story that suggests where we are and tells us where we are, but also lets it be today as well, I guess, in a way. And, you know, Nathaniel said about, you know, technology and bits and pieces that we can use to help tell that story and perhaps do things that weren't able to be done, you know, 20 years ago. Certainly, I know there was no projection last time, and now we have Craig doing some amazing work that can happen. And there may even be something you could talk about with a special scene in there, Wesley. But I think, yeah, I would say to answer the question, working with different directors, they each have their sort of focus. And certainly, you know, every time I've worked with Wesley, it's always been just do what you need to do to tell the story.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, and thanks. I was actually going to just throw to you, Wesley, just briefly to speak about the idea to introduce video into this work. If you could give us just a little understanding of that before I throw to Craig.
Excellent. Just to say, Craig, this is his first gig back in Australia, having opened on the West End with Dracula.
Second gig, because I'm a sucker for punishment.
A second gig?
Yeah.
No, this is the love gig. The other one's a whoring gig. Yes, I get it. But the idea of going 20 odd years ago, projection technology was not as advanced as it is now, and there was a sense of going, well, often you couldn't afford it and things. And when Richard and I were talking in particular, we were saying, actually, the television, that the Vietnam War was one of the first wars that kind of was telecast straight into your home, the first time you were seeing these images. And so that started us thinking about what the role of television was. And there's a couple of different challenges that the play has for us. The opening scene is in this kind of magical world where the Sapphires are extraordinary and doing this incredibly polished performance. And we could never work out where that was. We thought it was in a kind of dreamscape of some sort. And Richard came up with the idea that it was like Bandstand. And having Bandstand was it was before. It was like before Countdown in that kind of world. But where people would perform live their songs of the day. And so we thought, oh, that's like a television reference. And then the other references about the news of the war and things. And one of the things that Ben just alluded to as well is there's a scene in this play that has never been performed. And now that we're using video, we're actually found a way to perform it. There's a little through line of the play of a Super 8 camera. Super 8 cameras were like video cameras that had little film in them. I'm going to play this joke, man. I'm going to play this joke. And the idea of those Super 8 cameras that were around in the 60s and how people would often film, family films and things like that. And so there's always been a scene that's incredibly hard to stage because it requires a quick change of costume, a piece of equipment. It's on an airline and all of the airplane, and there's a whole lot of stuff like that. In the original production, it was so hard we had to cut it, and it never made it back on stage for over 20-something years. And this is the first time ever we're able to stage it because of the video work. So, thank you, Craig. But just that little thing about how the change of technology can actually sometimes help you tell the story because it's rooted in the actual period of time, but we can't make it into a theatrical environment. So the technology helps us tell the story much, much better, and Craig's been fantastic at that.
Thanks. And Craig, we had a brief chat yesterday. I don't know whether this is too early to bring up and chat about in public, but I know... You married? No, we're not married. Artistically, maybe. I'd like to be more. But your contribution to this work, and we talked about tone regarding the video. Obviously, through this new sort of aesthetic or new addition to the work with the video, that it's set and the world of the work is set. The Vietnam War's coming to people's lounge rooms. It's the most sort of it's a part of the entire world's lives at this moment. Yet the play sits in this very sort of heightened buoyance, but without shying away from some of the real issues. So how do you find the tonal balance in the representation of the world through video?
It's a tricky one, and I think it's one that we'll refine over the next few weeks once we're into previews and things like that. But I think, with the addition of video in the work and the ability to bring the outside world in a really kind of real way that isn't necessarily based in I guess, dramatic license that a play will always take. You know, the moment you put real footage on stage, it's really making a commentary or placing a work or reminding an audience of a particular time. And it's interesting, you know, so much time has passed since this story, you know, since 68, 69, though you look at or even diving into the kind of footage of that time, going, you know, Apollo 8 happened at the end of 68 where they just had done their first orbit around the moon. This war is going on. There's so much kind of, I guess, a lot of kind of content in that kind of way that, you know, can make you feel a little bit helpless. And, you know, fast forward to 2026, you could feel the same way. You know, what has changed in that respect? And I think, you know, what the play, the story itself does is reminds you, and I think, you know, in finding that balance of tone, I think the play itself reminds you of, even though we may feel insignificant in the world, we all have the power to make change, whether it's through the actions we make, through the way that we present ourselves to the world. So perhaps, you know, when audiences come in or when you come in to see the show and you start off and seeing some of that newsreel, it might feel like, oh, what is this about? Hopefully it kind of reminds you that, you know, when you walk out of the space, that there's a sense of, I don't know, positivity, as opposed to letting, you know, the negative weigh you down. So yeah, that's a bit of a long-winded answer, but I think it is a tone. It's a tone that we'll find, but I think there's definitely a danger of being too, I guess, didactic to begin with. But yeah, we'll find and shape that, and that's the joy of previews.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. That's incredible insight into the thinking and the process. Hey, I know I haven't gotten to the men here on stage. Don't worry about them. And I didn't have necessarily any specific questions for yous, because it is all about the Sapphires.
We can keep it that way.
What was that?
No, go ahead.
And so that's why I'm encouraging the audience to ask them some questions. We will open it up to the audience now, and if they haven't asked a particular question that I've got up my sleeve, I'll ask it soon. Would anyone like to start us off? Great, awesome. Who's running the microphone? It looks like me. No? Where is it? The strongest leg. Did you say that there's an extra mic somewhere?
I have a question about the accent of the main male character in the movie. What did you finally decide on?
Is that well? It's not a it's Australian, thankfully. Yeah, because I didn't do a very good Irish accent to begin with. No, thank you, Wesley.
Let's throw it up on the screen, right?
Yeah, put the tape up. No, it's Australian. It was never. No, well, yeah, it's I don't think. Am I right, Wesley? That I mean, it's never been Irish. It's because the actor in the movie was an Irish star that it became this Irish thing. So, but yeah, he's Aussie. So. Yeah.
He's very charming, nonetheless. I think so. I saw the run yesterday, I thought he was very charming.
Thank you.
Oh, Jack Bannister. Any other questions? Oh, you're very convenient.
I just wanted to ask about, were there any really significant anecdotal stories about one or more of the Sapphires that you found out or discovered during this effervescent, wonderful celebration production?
I was just pointing that way. Nate actually Nathaniel has connections. That's his family. These are stories of his family. So being able to learn from him about the history of his aunties and his family was great to ground us in the reality and further allow us to honor these women and honor the history of his people and the place that they come from. Yeah.
And what
It's
did
not
you
my
discover?
place to speak on, so I'll hand that over to whatever Nathaniel wants to share.
What did I discover?
You don't have what
I
have
kn-
you,
Stories. Where do we start? There's a significant song in this play that is only been performed in this play. Before the play was ever written, it was only ever performed at family functions and weddings, funerals, births, parties. And there's a scene in the movie, actually, speaking about the party, where they go to a party. There's an Irish uncle that owns the house, and he's actually one of our, one of the original. He's my uncle in that. Yeah, so that's all a real thing. But this specific song, when they go to these parties, the aunties would get together, and after a few drinks, they would sing, get together, and they'd tell stories, and then it would end in this song called Narrabri Farah. And the significance of this song goes back to the 1880s, and it's a story of celebration, it's a story of pride, it's a story of language being shared in a way that was acceptable in a time when we weren't allowed to speak it. And that story, Narrabri Farah, translates into this song called Turn Back Pharaoh's Army, which comes back from Muriel's song, Muriel is the sister of, I'm taking you on a history lesson here, but Muriel was the sister of Moses, and Muriel's song was talking about how Moses led the people out of Egypt to escape what was happening in Egypt at the time. And so this story, this whole theme of Aboriginal rights, of women taking the centre stage and being leaders and empowering the rest of the community and stuff like that, it's not new to the Yorta Yorta community and other communities as well, but the main message is that this is something that we're still working towards, and it's crossing that metaphoric river together and going to this better place together. That's one of the stories.
Other questions? Yeah, go ahead. I'll just bring this microphone over so we can pick it up.
Really looking forward to seeing the play. I was quite impressed with my young son, who said, I know all about Sapphires. I watched that in year 5. So it's kind of cool that it's all out there and they know more than us. But I just wondered, do you take this production, you mentioned Melbourne Theatre Company, does this production then, Wesley, get picked up and go around the country?
As soon as we finish here on the 24th of May, when we close here, it goes to Canberra for a season there. And then it's really up to any of you want to buy it after that. If you know friends or family. But that's where it is at the moment, going to that. And just to pick up one while I've got the mic, is interesting when we talk about the film, because we were talking about this idea too that the film was made very strongly for an international audience, and there were certain elements of the film in terms of the representation of Vietnamese people and especially the war that was not necessarily palatable to the Americans. And so they wrote out the character of Joe, which is played by Chris there. And, the idea that there's a young Vietnamese boy who befriends these girls, and this kind of connection between, and this is kind of part of the true story in many ways, where the women saw the Vietnamese people and saw the kind of colonial act of what was going on and went, what's our position to this? And so you don't see all of those kind of nuances in the film because an international audience, an American audience may not not like that kind of talking about themselves in that way. So that was an interesting kind of difference that that the play wrote a Vietnamese person into it so it could tell the story of colonization in a different way. I mean, whatever your opinions on the Vietnam War, but that's the intention, is to say, how are these three Aboriginal women seeing what was going on over there, and not just about the Vietnamese people, but also Black American, African American soldiers who were, as we see now, often put into the center of a whole range of issues, wars and things because of, let's say, class issues and things. So there's different layers of racism that go there. And one of the anecdotes I've heard is that the Robbie, which Cameron plays, represents the writer's father, who was an African-American serviceman who met his mother and then had the child. That's what I understand as well. So maybe I can see nods there, but so there's little nods to the writer's life as well as that kind of occurs.
No, thank you everybody so much for tonight. Thank you. A big round of applause for the cast and creatives here tonight.